Well, how's everybody tonight? Pretty good? Good. Thank you very much for that very generous and kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. And, you know, this is, I think, my 7th book. You can't hear?
Mike.
This is my, is that better? Okay. This is my 7th book, and you know, I've had people introduce me at book signings before, and that was a terrific one. Thank you very much for that introduction. And sometimes people are a little kind of confused, maybe a little nervous when they introduce, and I remember this one person who said, we're so glad that Senator Bradley's here tonight, and he's going to speak about his new book. It's a wonderful book. I can guarantee you that you put it down, you'll never pick it up. That's what he said. And I remember once in the Senate, I was on the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, and the chairman of the committee was a guy from Louisiana named Bennett Johnson. And Secretary Henry Kissinger was testifying on the geopolitics of oil. And the chairman of the committee welcomed him and said, we're so glad you're here, Dr. Kissinger. I know you're going to make important contributions to this committee's work. And I want to say to the committee members here, Dr. Kissinger's book, his memoir, has just come out, 824 pages. And I must tell you, Dr. Kissinger, I find it full of insights. And I want to say to members of the committee, just be careful. Don't read it when you're in bed, because if you fall asleep and hit your leg, it'll break it. So tonight I'll talk a little bit about the book, and then we'll do some questions and answers. And you can take it anywhere you'd like to take it. The impetus for this book was really, like many Americans, last summer, I witnessed the debt limit debacle, and I witnessed the fact we were still in 2 wars on the other side of the world. And I was aware of the difficulties of the middle class in this country, not just for a few years, but the median income in 2010 was the same as it was in 1996. And for the last 25 years, basically it was stagnant. And I found last summer people coming up to me, maybe because I'd been in the Senate and politics for a while, and said, do you really think that anything is going to get done? I'm feeling hopeless. And so I decided to write a book. I'm just a citizen. I don't have my hands on the levers of power. I'm just a citizen, just like you. So what can I do? Well, the one thing I could do is try to bring whatever experience I have to bear on the moment and talk to the American people as best I could. And that's what I've tried to do. And I want to remind people that we've had difficult problems in the past. Depressions, after depression, we've had wars. There have been times when the structure of our democracy just does not work, and we've overcome them and moved forward. And I wanted to tell people, remind them that our political institutions are flexible enough to allow us to chart our own future. And I also wanted to remind them of something I talked about when I ran for president back in the Paleolithic era, that there's a goodness in the American people. And that goodness, that selflessness, has to be the foundation upon which government policy is built. For example, if the ethos of the nonprofit sector is give to someone else with no expectation of return, and the ethos of the private sector is perform or die, then the best of government takes the accountability of the private sector and the passion and commitment of the nonprofit sector. And that's when government comes alive to do great things for people in this country. And so people ask me, what do I miss about being in politics? And I really miss two things. I miss not doing public policy 24 hours a day. I love that. And that's what books like this one, I try to fill that void. And the second thing I miss are the people, quite frankly, in all their shapes and sizes, their hopes, their fears, their dreams, their anxieties. I miss that. If they're in a senator, you get it all the time. People look to you like you're part of something that can help them. And when you run for president, it's amplified 100-fold. And I try to fill that void with a radio program that I do on Sirius XM satellite radio called American Voices. The premise of the program is I want people to hear the kind of stories that I have heard for 40 years on the road as a basketball player and a politician, crisscrossing America. The kind of stories I heard from Americans. And so they really boil down into two kinds of stories. One is a story about people who have an unusual job. The guy that washes windows in New York City skyscrapers, or a public health nurse in the Aleutian Islands, or a groundskeeper at Fenway Park in Boston. And all of those stories, and I've done over 300 shows now, all of those stories are stories about the dignity of work and about the fulfillment one has in doing something well, whatever that is. And so I wanted to write about that. Chapter 5 is called Celebrating Selflessness, which, as I said, I think has got to be the insight and the foundation for anything else we do. And what kind of stories? Well, the story of the guy who shined shoes at the Pittsburgh Children's Hospital for 46 years. And out of every tip he got, he put a portion of that tip into a fund to pay for poor kids' health care. And the day I interviewed him, he'd put over $100,000 into that fund. It's goodness to the American people. And then there's a lady outside Chicago. She had a great Chicago accent. That's important in radio. And she had an 11-year-old son who had cancer. And he was in the hospital, and he got a lot of letters when he was in the hospital. And then when he came home, he got no letters. And he asked his mother one day, "Mom, are they not sending me letters because they think I'm going to die?" And so his mother started sending him letters. And she would sign the letters, "A secret pal." On a bad week when he was really sick and at home, 3 letters. On a good week when he was in school, having a normal life, at least 1 letter. And one night she came into the kitchen and he was there writing on the kitchen table, and she went over, "No, no, not for you, Mom." And he continued writing and folded it up, put it in an envelope, gave it to his mother and said, "Would you give this to my secret pal?" And she started to open it. He said, "No, no, 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 for my secret pal." So she put him to bed, came back out. What would you do? She opened the envelope, took out the piece of paper, and it said, "I love you, Mom." And about 4 months later, he died. And she went into his closet and did the most difficult thing that a mother can do, which is to clean out the closet of a deceased child. And in the floor of that closet, she found a shoebox. And in the shoebox, she found all the letters from his secret pal organized chronologically. And in the bottom of that shoebox, she found an address book that had the addresses of all the kids that went to the Kids with Cancer camp the previous summer. So out of a tribute to her son, she wrote every kid in that book a letter, trying to buck them up like she tried to buck up her son. An amazing thing happened. She started getting letters from people getting letters from people.